안녕하세요. Hi guys, welcome back. So this week I will be going over my making process of a Danryeong Po, or specifically the robe of a high-ranking court official in the Joseon period. So, initially I had planned for like a multi-part series, but unfortunately, you know how life always goes, especially as you plan and everything is right and everyone has the amount of free time, and it's always great, of course. So unfortunately, a lot of this video will be in the speaking in past tense. I actually finished the robe part of this about 3 weeks ago, almost, and recently have attached the actual rank badges, so I'm going to do a little bit of a condensed video explanation for this. So once again, sorry for the lateness, but I get to have one quick overview in one video instead. Yay! So a quick history of the robe I will be going over the making of this week. It is called a Danryeong Po, which is once again, as we have learned, commonly named for the shape of the collar. So we have a rounded collar going by the name of Danryeong, Po being the word for coat, usually. So these robes were actually modeled after Ming Dynasty court robes. The Ming Dynasty from China going from 1368 to 1644. Now, Korea has had actually a fairly long-standing relationship with China. Specifically in a turning point from rather just than fighting an invasion in the Shira dynasty during the Three Kingdoms period. The other kingdoms of Korea at that time being the Goguryeo Kingdom, Baekje, and Gaya Kingdom. But Shira actually took their relationship to take power for the first time. Korea never having a unified power throughout the entire peninsula before. So with the help of the Tang dynasty, they took over the continent and transitioned to later Shilla and the northern southern states. Now through the Goryeo period and sort of alongside with the Song dynasty in China, we once again had a heavy influx of trade, of influence, be it through art, literature, clothing. So the transition of these robes as a tributary state of China was not a terrible surprise. So we went from under Tang dynasty influence to a Yuan influence for the later half of the Goryeo period, 918 to 1392. Now, in an unfortunately out of print book, but this is Hanbok, The Art of Korean Clothing by Sunny Yang, on page 51, and I do quote, we have King Gongmin of Goryeo, 1351 through 1374, officially adopted Chinese ceremonial court costumes for Korean royalty and officials soon after the Ming Dynasty in China was established, 1368 through 1644. But Korean kings wore the costume of Chinese princes, and highest-ranking officials wore the costume of Chinese third-ranking officials. This court dress system lasted until the Taehan Empire, when King Gojong, 1863 through 1907, of the Yi dynasty, declared himself emperor in 1897 and claimed empire status for Korea. Since then, the same Chinese hierarchy of court dress system has been adopted. However, Koreans always wore hanbok under their ceremonial outer robe, maintaining a distinctive dual clothing system, and commoners always wore the basic hanbok throughout the centuries. Once again, it's not terribly too hard to find. Some prices differ, but I highly recommend. It is a wealth of information, pictures in the English language, just presented in a lovely, lovely book. So once again, Hanbok, The Art of Korean Clothing by Sunny Yang. So that being a quick little brief, though of course we can dive more and more and more into this, but a brief history of why our court robes look incredibly similar to that of Ming Dynasty Chinese robes, because in fact, they are a direct influence. Now, for the sort of next step of the finalizing of this robe, the actual robe itself was a common feature throughout the period, especially in the royal household. The common circular collar, different versions of the robe were worn by servants, by various other officials, just without the elaborately embroidered Hyungbae rank badge. Now, these rank badges, once again, were modeled after a Chinese court system of ranking, with different animals, of course. However, in 1446, and this is in the court of King Sejong, these rank badges were first brought up and proposed. However, being a dominantly Confucian state, prizing frugality, restraint against luxury and such, it was turned down. 8 years later, though, however, when the subject was brought up again, it did pass. So throughout the years, it did boil down to a different system of animals in that of China, eventually agreeing upon 4 divine animals. The king and the princes and the royal household themselves had the permission to wear dragons only. You could not, as a commoner, wear the dragon, either be it 5-clawed, 4-clawed, 3-clawed, as you go down the rank of succession. But for the officials of the court, it was one of 2 animals, that being the crane or the tiger. Now, with court officials, for the government officials, they were identified by that of cranes. The double cranes, like I am requesting, because of course, why not go for the top? I dare not go for the king status because I don't want to betray that. But, a high-ranking official, why not? So, with a double crane on your Hyungbae rank badge, actually Hyungbae meaning front and back, so there are actually 2 identical embroideries, one in front, one in the back. But double cranes indicates 1st through 3rd rank, and then a single crane is 4th through 9th. Now that sort of number ranking with a double and a single animal goes for the same for military officials. However, military officials use tigers. So double tiger, 1st through 3rd rank, and a single tiger, 4th through 9th. So those were easy, very highly visible pieces of iconography that, established your status and how to treat such, how to address such, how to respect such, as was, the thing in the Joseon period. The Hyungbae rank badges were actually made by the Department of Royal Attire called the Sanggiwon, which coincidentally is also the subject and title of a absolutely fantastic historical period drama Korean movie. It's called Sanggiwon, but it's also referred to in an English title called The Royal Tailor. Please look it up. It is absolutely fantastic. As we of course know, as those in the historical dress, historical costuming community, historical accuracy is that pipe dream of oh no, and we love to complain about it and love to make crazy videos about it. But there are intentional exceptions. Of course, they try their best. No one's perfect, but oh, sweet Lord, it is a visual feast. It goes into the making of, in a specific, Joseon period, where, length of certain garments and colors and century laws and fashion and trend come into play. And it is an absolutely marvelous visual snack. So highly recommend hunting down that movie if possible. Once again, Sanggiwon or The Royal Tailor. But throughout that, it does give a rather great breakdown of sort of the royal Sanggiwon. Now, the king would bestow upon a court official this rank, and that order would go through the Sanggiwon through the Chimseon, which is the master seamster. Master seamsters overlooked every aspect from, you know, the silkworms that make the silk to the making of the textile to the dyeing to pattern cutting, every single process specifically overlooked by these master tailors, seamsters within the Royal Department of Royal Attire. Now the order would come through, and actually these badges and a lot of the other elaborate sort of embroidery pieces were made by the ladies of the court, so the wives of these officials commonly. Now in some cases these badges or other sort of officially bestowed upon ordered pieces of embroidery were made by the female members of the official's house. Embroidery being, you know, not uncommonly throughout the world a prized skill for young women to know. So in Korea, I believe from like the age of 7, Korea being a very gender separated society at that point of time. So in the female quarters of the house, embroidery was one of their major practices. So once bestowed and the order was given, the court women, ladies of the court, through the Sangyewan, would make these brilliant badges to be bestowed upon whatever court official it may be. So I believe it is in, unfortunately, yet another out-of-print book. This is Chimseon, Korean Traditional Sewing from the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, Korea Craft and Design Foundation. Now this on page 30, if you pardon me looking down at my notes all the time, I need to get my glasses fixed. So, court seamstresses were court ladies belonging to the sewing and embroidery quarters who directly participated in the dressmaking together with the master seamsters. Various garments, blankets, and quilts were made in the sewing quarters, while clothing, rank badges, pockets, pillows, and folding screens were decorated in the embroidery quarters. Clothing for the court was produced and mended by separate sewing and embroidery quarters attached to each royal household of the king, queen consort, crown prince, and crown princess. The contribution of court seamstresses in the production of sizable and labor-intensive garments was sometimes recognized with awards after national events. So that sort of solves the mystery of like, who is doing that? Of course it's, you know, through a department of royal affairs and such, but it is the actual ladies of the court making these beautiful pieces for the officials. So with the addition of the Hyungbae rank badges, this garment is actually specifically worn by commoners, so those who weren't, you know, bestowed upon by the king to wear it themselves. Commoners could wear it for a few instances in their life, being 60th birthday, for the groom for his wedding, for a child's first birthday, for very specific events. It was allowed for the samo hat. Stop making noise. The samo hat, being sort of recognized horsehair with the outstretching wings, the samo, and the Dae Belt. Now, the Dae Belt, also being referred to as a girdle in some instances, this is once again another status symbol. So pending the color, I have often seen this made in different colors for government officials, such as black, where it is blue here, but this belt being made in things from jade to gold, so all yet another piece notating your status and rank in society. But along with another thing I do not have quite yet called a mokwa, it is a boot, and you know I love a good boot, so one day soon, hopefully. But it is the combination of these as an outfit, of course, underdressed in hanbok. I have seen referred to as a samo gwande. This robe I've also seen referred to as a gwanbok, but consistently I see it referred to as a Danryeong Po, specifically for the collar shape itself. But I've only seen this samo gwande name refer to in instances referring to a wedding. Um, so throughout history, this is also traditional groom's wear for Korean weddings. So I'm thinking of a whole, re-lyricing of not getting married today because that is my greatest fear about wearing this in public. Is no, I am recreating a Joseon court official. I am not getting married unless you know a handsome, rich Korean man who wants to. Please. So anyway, in daily life, this is sort of retained tradition-wise as traditional Korean wedding attire. So it is where you would see this specific robe worn most nowadays. In Korean history, though, like we talked about sort of the ending of Ming Dynasty influence, this when Korea became its own empire in the late 19th century. So this system was abolished in 1899, after which the durumagi, classified by its fully closed around, so no side vents, the durumagi became the sort of general court attire for the rest of the Joseon Empire until 1910, when the Japanese colonized Korea until its liberation and freedom at the end of World War II in 1945. But thus ending the Danryeong Po Hyungbae rank badge system of royal court, unless it was for the wedding occasion. Hey friends! So we are on day one of the Danryeong Po, with the in the future to be added Hyungbae rank badges by the amazing Queen Sewstine. So right now we are in planning phase. I have some beautiful traditional Korean silk from Native Korean on Etsy store. I will link below. And right now, though not historically accurate, but just because I am impatient and poor. Oh, New York City. I have some pink linen, as is, as far as I can see, fairly accurate to be sort of a contrast color. So I have some pink. Ideally, I would have enough money for like a fuchsia magenta taffeta or something, but hey, we are on a budget forever. So we have our planning process. This is our beautiful Korean silk, floral. There is a specific name for a floral Korean silk. I will add that above. And this is that pink linen. I have made a robe out of this before. I really like it, and it's a nice contrast cut. So I'm just trying to figure out if I want the front panels just all lined in the same, and then back. And I found the name for the gussets. They are called Mu. Romanized, I found it MU, or not like cow moo, but common romanizations of this secondary character, Mu. So apgu, so, duitgi, and Mu, and some being sleeve. So right now I'm just trying to debate who is going to get the contrast lining. Right now I think all the front panels will be lined, double line same, with the back panel and the side gussets being lined in this pink. And sometimes a shortcut I personally take, I will not line my sleeves because I know I will be warm already and wearing a couple layers underneath. So that is my common shortcut. So I currently am at 127 in terms of shoulder to bottom of the garment length. So I will have two wide sections. I'll be going lengthwise on my fabric. Front, apgu, sop. Then I have duitgi is back and mu, and then the rest will be sleeve, collar piece, the danryeong being the circular collar, and the gorum strips. And I need little belt ties for the actual belt that will be coming in the mail, fingers crossed, tomorrow, UPS, please. So I will check back in after we do some cutting. Okay, so we are all chalked out for the fashion side of the Korean silk. Here we are in pre-cutting glory. So at the very end, I have a stretch of about 48 centimeters. That will be our collar with a curve. So I'm gonna go straight and then the curve. There. Sleeve, fold it over, fold it over. We're doing really big sleeves with this one. Here we have our back piece, which I'll fold down the center and do a center seam. Extra bits, these will be our belt straps for the rectangular belt. We have our mu gussets, a little strip for incidental, little ties if need be. And we move into, pardon the roller coaster, we have sulp, outer and inner. Then we have our apki, outer and inner there. And now these two end slices will be my gorum ties. So obviously I don't need as much fabric as is there, but that is where I will be pulling gorum ties from. Yes, the same thing, sorry. These will be gorum as well, and these two will fold over and just make that like tube gorum tie, cut it in half, and that will be my belt holster. So here we are, and scratch that, I actually found a red shantung silk. That will be my lining instead, because instead of the linen that I was iffy about, red it is. So I will just chalk that out and check in after a cut. Morning, morning. This is morning day 2. So we have all of the pattern pieces cut out. With the lining, we have flipped and pressed. The only thing left that I actually need to craft is our circular rounded collar piece. And that is a connect here so it rounds and straight down. So it will intersect like how this is down here, but it will be a rounded collar and attach. So right now we have our mu, the gussets, our back piece. We have our apge and sulp for our front panels. These are our 2 sleeves, which I have hemmed. I have 2, they're just gonna fold. Gorum strips. These are being saved, fingers crossed, yet again. Please let this belt come. Delivery, please, please, please. So yet to be determined how this belt goes on, if it opens or if you have to like step into it. But if these are going to be separate ties or like a belt loop. TBD. I have some folded, sewed, and bound material cording so I can make my little knot buttons. There's one that will go on the neck to attach the collar, and then with a move for this, I'll go into a little bit more in depth. Usually these meet up in a sharp triangular point and it's a flat vent on the side, but I've seen where it's almost like a side gusset cut and then it folds back. Horrible explanation, but I will explain a little bit better. And then this extra piece here is what I will be cutting my collar out of. So it will do like a giant J piece for the collar, and then that will wrap down. So complicated, I'll figure it out. I've made like one of these robes before, and that was my living mock-up, because I don't make mock-ups because I'm impatient. So next step, we are just going to do a quick seaming to attach everything, and I will check back in. Oh yes, quickly. So the lining situation, I went with the red. Focus, focus. Okay, no. A nice pop of contrast red. So that is the back piece, and then for the mu, I have that same pop of red, but everything else is just same as is. I could have used the wrong quote-unquote side of the silk since it still is incredibly beautiful, but I just wanted the extra thickness, especially since I'll be adding the rank badges to the front and back. So we will check back in, post some sew-ups. So we have just sewn up the shoulder seam right now. So here is the back. I'm just lazy. Most Danryeong Po I see in dramas or what they do show of the back historically in extents, you will see a center back seam. Once again, probably due to historical width of silk bolts. So I just did the lazy thing, pulled it in half, did a seam, and ironed it. Yeah, I think it's gonna help a little bit more once I add the rectangle Hyungbae badge just for weight and sturdiness, but now you can see sort of the contrast. Once again, it's technically a different lining method, but unless I'm really trying, no one's seeing the inside and I don't really care. The most I might do is turn this over and just do little stitches just to turn that seam in, but for the most part I don't care. So now this is the front two panels. Now what I am going to do, that we may or may not if you watch the Dae Belt video, is to lay the sleeves along the sleeve lines, pin, and sew them in. So we'll check in next. Hello, me again. So I am just about to sew up the sleeves, as you can see here. So I have pinned. I'm sure some legitimate Hanbok tailors, makers are screaming. I think we should be using basting thread, which I found during cleaning. Any threads that you would take apart, you would just save and use for basting. Always recycling, yay. But for me, I pin. I have been thankfully saved from the terror of sleeve insertion and sleeve placement just by Asian technique. So laying the pattern flat and just sewing the one solid line in. Obviously Hanbok did have a development period where Western style sleeves, especially for women's wear, became the normal. So there are other techniques that do incorporate Western sleeve setting, but for me, I just keep it simple. So while everybody else is venting frustrations over such, I am spared such a spiteful life, just luckily by this. So wonderful way. I make a little curved edge, another curved. I think I might actually go out into this sort of flare, as is a common shape. So I can just chalk that up and repin, but just got these together on both sides. So soon we will have a vaguely sewn up garment, and then I can tackle the collar piece. Here is first try on, and pardon the aesthetic mirror. Here we are in all its glory. So this time through, I did the reverse and I sewed along the bottom first and then flipped it. Come on, focus. So it's just that seam, because I didn't really want to do a top stitch hem on that and ruin the look. So as best as, maybe, hold on, let's switch this. Yeah, there we go. So Here is sleeve, unironed. Right now, the only thing not attached are the mu. So the gussets, and these will be, I'll put this on a mannequin and show you what I'm doing later, but at least we have lift off minus collar. Ooh, it is warm. We are warm. What an adventure. But I'm quite happy with that. Better shots, of course, so I'm not just... Anyone else model and such? Okay. But yeah, first try on. Yay, hooray, 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 hooray. Oh, the power of pressing and ironing well. Oh, it makes all the difference. Okay, so next I'm just gonna pop this on the mannequin and then we will deal with the moo. Okay, so my mannequin is not my size, but I have pinned him just to fit. Oh, I'm so happy. I wish my camera was better. One day soon. One day soon. Look at that sleeve. That just says status. That says I do nothing but sit all day in a sedentary lifestyle and do no manual labor. Completely contrary to how I will be wearing it. So, what we have here, the side, the mu. So these would usually line up evenly and just lay flat. But I'll insert another one of those reference pictures. But the rear Hyungbae, stepped on my thread box, will go center back, bum, 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 bum. And then looking at the back pictures, what I can find in at least dramas where they'll get some of it right, sorry, no shade intended, but these were squared off. Now, when I was first making, I made these really big and wondered, I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. Later to find that that was just the wrong move for the wrong robe. So these I am pinning together and they will be attached, folded back like this, and attached with a little knot button here. Now, in what I can see is that other ones, they'll be a little bit longer, and I just need to figure that out, but, you know, no pattern and going from just photos. So that makes this a really nice, clean, fold-over front. So you wouldn't really see too much of this red pop there, but it's a fold-over as opposed to just a clean, flat vent in the side with other robes. So, I just got a package in the mail. I have my punde. It is the classic belt. Civil officials and also now that robe is used for weddings. But the punde would be different things beyond bone. They could have jade. Also, yet another accessory to help denote social status in the Joseon period. These came into use, I believe, late Goryeo into Joseon. And these were, I believe, also modeled partly from Ming Dynasty Chinese robes. I'll look up the name specifically of that. But, ooh, I just got it and it is beauteous. And, okay, it does open. So this influences, I wanted to see how that works so I can make my belt loops. So, hallelujah, it is here. Do we have a fabric? So we'll lay, actually I think that's the front, yeah, on that. Then as well, they sent me from Leehwa Wedding, where I get my Hanbok masks. I have some of the Hanbok tassel earrings from them, Wholesome socks. I absolutely am in love with their company, what they do. Product is amazing, and also in California. And they sent, ooh, it is another norige. It's a tassel, well, a ribbon And I think this is a secondary one. Ooh, so I can also hang these from my belt. And then I think, because they are a lovely, lovely, lovely company, ooh yes, it is a ring. And it's a, am I doing this really? Traditional tiger eye in there. Design. Oh, yes! Yes! Yes, it fits over my crazy piano knuckles from a lifetime ago. Ooh, look at that. Oh, Leehwa Wedding. 정말 감사합니다. 진짜 좋아. 진짜 예쁘다. Oh, so happy. Here is bottom section of the collar. Prepare for the horrible truth underneath. Isn't this ring it? Come on, focus. Ooh, it's like the eye of Sauron, but it's a tiger's eye. And Korean. And they fit my man hands. Thank you, Leehwa Wedding. Wow, wow. Rar. Hoyangi. Word for tiger. Hoyangi. Anyways, I digress. Look at the beauty beneath the exterior you don't see. So, since no one's really gonna see this, obviously, if I was making this for someone else, I would have planned a little bit better. I made my little pattern and traced it onto some horsehair interfacing, so just nice and easier to work with. So I'm about to stitch, just make a line of stitching. I've seen some and it confuses me because it looks like, where do I got it? Like if they stitched it, it's 2 rows of stitching, like 2 rows of top stitching. So fold one over and then top stitch and then another fold. So I don't know if it's like 3 layers of collar or what. So I'm just doing it this way. I may regret it, but you know, I can always make another one. Different colors. I'm really going to enjoy this with this. Look at that. Though I think, at least, and I'm sure I have not found the color charts for rank and like the material chart of ranking, but I see a lot of black for at least what I've seen out there in terms of this color where the blue is. The blue I've seen in other wedding pieces, and I don't know if that's just made common as that's the sort of trending color or whatnot, what have you. But for now, I really, really like this. I mean, this ain't something you be finding on like eBay and stuff like that. So thank you again, Leehwa Wedding. So we have our hinge here, and it's just a pressure release button. You can see it's just like your standard tension. And so that means I can make fully closed belt loops and not have to do a tie and worry that, not that I'll be running, but that this won't like jingle off as I'm trotting around the park or what have you. So we will do a top stitch here, and then I may or may not worry about the hand stitching now, or do I just want to get it done and worry about it later? Who knows? Who's to say? Checking in a sec. Hello, 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 hello. Look what just came in the mail. 이거 형배 쏜이다. Okay. Now that we have a YouTube channel, we must do these things in front of a video where they never really happened, right? Sure, why not? Oh, I am so sweaty. Literally just got home and I feel like I can't get into it. Okay. There we go. Ah! Ah! Oh my god! Ah! Hey girl, hey! Ah! So official. Oh! Oh! Ah! 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 Oh my. 헐. 아이고. I don't care. I don't care. This video is just moaning and screaming. Moaning and screaming. Look at that. Look at it. Isn't it disgusting how talented some people are? Oh, oh, oh my goodness. I wonder if like civil officials like freaked out with like excitement when they were bestowed upon a different rank. They're like, oh honey, you never gonna guess what I did today. We're getting a new badge, so you gotta sew that on my robes. I don't know. Okay. I'll cut this out. I'll just stop screaming. So that joyous reaction was me unboxing my Hyungbae ring badges in the mail from Sewstine, and they are truly just an amazing, brings a tear to the eye work of art. They are just jaw-droppingly beautiful, and I could not be more happy and grateful for them. Now, in terms of our getting ready, I am layering, of course, on top of the standard jogori top and baji pants, and the foundational garments, of course. We just have a standard white robe. I haven't seen too many instances of a full, like, layer. Mostly in dramas, they cut to an artful shot of the face, and I'm like, not helpful at all. Thank you very much. So I am just choosing this white robe just as a nicer contrast color-wise to the Danryeong rounded. And here we are about to have our first stop on the struggle bus today. Oh, the simple joys of trying to tie a knot button with one hand. It's the little things that you learn to love about historical dressing, right? Now, a civil official of this high rank certainly would have at least, I would think, 2, if not more, assistants, servants. In the Joseon period, it was also very common for inter-country slavery to happen. So, slavery existing, the lord's holdings could be quite massive. I think I read that the ratio of Yangban, the ruling elite of Joseon, was about 7% of the population. So considerably a lot of power wielded over the masses. So off that little tangent, this struggle of the knot button, of the getting into the robe, of putting the Dae Belt through the loops, which is our second stop on the struggle bus route for the dressing day, would be quite obsolete, for I would have at least a few hands helping me while I just stand with my arms straight out. That was a satisfying click. Any which way, this is legitimately the first time of me putting everything on with the Hyungbae attached. And obviously, I am feeling myself quite hard. Um, so sorry I lack a little footage of me attaching. It's been a long month. I've shot things numerous times and crashed things other times, and things took crazy turns. And thank you so much for the patience in getting this video up and running again. But it really was just putting in thicker interfacing with another silk, wrapping and just doing a quick binding stitch, and then I bought a silk thread the same color of my robe to attach the rank badge loosely so I can always remove for cleaning and such. So once again, a tremendous thank you to Native Korean for the absolutely luxurious fabric, to Leehwa Wedding for the Dae Belt and the other beautiful treasures they have sent, and once again to Sewstine. 정말 감사합니다. It it is an absolute dream come true to A, work with you, and B, for this project to happen, and dreams coming true. Thank you so, so much. And thank you, all of you, for joining me on another rocky little Hanbok adventure. If you liked this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe. A big, big thank you to all of you who have subscribed already. So please stay tuned for another Hanbok adventure in the future. See ya, see ya! 안녕!